Yesterday, Minister, at the start of my intervention, I welcomed this bill and I thank you for bringing it forward. It's good legislation and it protects the productive income from the farm or business, and that's what's most important. Now, I have one specific question around the legislation, Minister, and it's this. My understanding is that if someone has been in care for over 3 years, once they appoint a successor, they will no longer have to pay the 7.5% contribution based on their asset. But what I want to ask is this. If someone is in care for 2 years and 10 months, and if they appoint a successor, is it just the 2 months that they have to pay to bring it up to the 3-year cap, or do they have to pay the entire 3 years? Now, I don't know the answer to that question, and hopefully you will, in your reply, clarify for me. Hopefully it's the latter case that I spoke of there. Now, I do want to return, Minister, to an issue that I've spoken about before, and that is the increasing challenges being faced by private nursing homes, especially some of the smaller private nursing homes in rural areas. I mean, we're talking here about a fair deal, so it has to be a fair deal for everybody. The average weekly fee in 2018 for public nursing homes was €1,564, whereas for private it was €968. Now, while I do recognise that in some specific cases, sometimes those with more complex needs may be more likely to be cared for in a public nursing home, nonetheless, Minister, the vast majority of people are being cared for in their own locality. For example, Minister, in my own constituency, public nursing homes cost the state about 60% more in Sligo, 68% more in Leitrim, 70% more in Roscommon, and 81% in Donegal. Now, all nursing homes, public or private, must operate to the same standards. And I am not for one instant suggesting that we pay public nursing homes less. But, Minister, we have to look at paying private nursing homes more. Back in 2015, a review of systems for setting prices under the Nursing Home Support Scheme was set up by the then Minister for Health, Minister Bradker. That they were supposed to report in 2017. Now, before Christmas here, I asked the Taoiseach why that report had not been published. Now, I still don't know why, but that report has still not been published today. And my question is, why is that, Minister? To me, it seems fundamentally unjust to commission a review of pricing policy in the sector in 2015, and it was needed then. It wouldn't have been commissioned if it wasn't. It was needed. But 6 years later, we're leaving nursing home owners waiting on its recommendations. And the truth is, Minister, many of those private nursing home owners are barely hanging on. Now, I've spoken to many of these private nursing home owners in my own constituency, and many are under serious pressure financially. They can't compete with the HSE regarding terms and conditions for their staff, even though they really want to, because they have top-class staff. And they have real difficulty in retaining staff. The issue is, Minister, if some of those nursing homes close, the state will have to step in. That will mean greater cost to the taxpayer. And already we see foreign investment coming into that sector. I'm not saying it's like the housing sector, but there are parallels. And I'm not saying that's negative in itself, but what I am saying is it changes the dynamic. And I think we need to take a more holistic view of our procurement model, and we must never, ever equate value for money with a race to the bottom. I'm not saying that's happening, I'm just sounding warning bells. So, Minister, I want to ask you to publish the review of the systems for setting prices under the Nursing Home Support Scheme. I've given you plenty of anecdotal evidence, and I'm sure other TDs would do the same, about the need for that review to be published and acted upon. But the truth is, I'm not just relying on anecdotal evidence. I've read some HICWA reports, their yearly overview reports, and what they say is very clear. Back in 2017, HICWA speaks of 5 registered owners advised HICWA that they had made a decision to close their nursing home, and all 5 were small centres, less than 40 residents. In 2018, again in their report, they tell us smaller nursing homes, which often provide a more homely environment, are closing voluntarily due to concerns over their financial viability. And in 2019, they tell us that the nursing home sector in Ireland has changed considerably in terms of the size of new centres, and many of these new centres are largely concentrated in the east of the country, particularly in Dublin. At the same time, smaller centres are closing across the country, presenting a challenge to rural communities. So, Minister, it's happening. We need to see a vision for the sector, and we need to see that vision underpinned by the resources necessary to deliver that vision. I'll hand over to my colleague.
Thank you, Deputy Harkin.